Hey friends, welcome back to another session of the Deconstructing Faith Summit. This one is going to be a blast. And I have to be honest, I'm fangirling just a little bit because I have seen so much fantastic content from our next speaker that is just the perfect blend of snark and hope and just real talk about deconstruction. So without further ado, let me introduce you to David Hayward, better known to most of us as the Naked Pastor. David was ordained to the ministry in 1987 and left in 2010. He's been running the Naked Pastor blog since 2005, where he posts his provocative cartoons and articles, and has launched an online community called The Lasting Supper, which is a place for people to change without being judged or instructed, and where they can learn to become spiritually independent. He's been cartooning, making art, writing, speaking, and coaching around his core passions: personal, authentic freedom, the power to change our lives, and the creative spirit to make our world a better place. Hi, David. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Angela. Thank you so much. Yeah, good to be here. And hi, everybody.
Yeah, hi, everybody. There's lots of people that are going to be watching this on the replay, so I'm super excited to invite them into our conversation. I just want to jump right in. Your session title that you gave us was Flip It Like This, Art as Transformative. What does that mean? And what the heck does that have to do with deconstruction?
Yeah, well, so, all right, this is a little plug on my part, but I just came out with a new book, Flip It Like This, and it's just came out in July. It's my book of best of cartoons, and I've been drawing cartoons for many years. So there's been thousands of cartoons I had to choose from to come up with best ofs. So, and what I've discovered is that I started blogging in 2005 as the Naked Pastor. And I've been drawing ever since I was a kid. So I thought one day, I love a really good cartoon. So I thought one day I'm going to just try cartooning. And suddenly my blog took off because people were liking the cartoons. And I just realized that the power of art to bypass our defenses is really quite powerful. When you come across a 1,000-word blog post, you can easily, scroll on past, or you might start reading it and find it boring or disagreeable or whatever and just move on. But my cartoons, I usually try to keep it to one frame with as few words as possible. And it's like, boom, it's instant. And you can't unsee it. And I just love that rapid fire, effectiveness of my cartoons. Either you're going to love it or you're going to hate it. And I realized not only is it transformative for me, like for me to draw out my, my own thoughts and feelings about things, but it also pulls people's thoughts and feelings out as well. And so that's one of the big things I discovered about my art, is that it's provocative or evocative, in a good or negative way.
Yeah, and I think the thing that resonated most for me back in the day, when I was so overwhelmed that like you said, I couldn't read 1,000 words. Like I just was aching and confused and overwhelmed. And here's this beautiful, simple, single box with maybe a few words, half a dozen lines, a dozen lines. And yet I felt so seen, and I felt so easily able to connect with that it was just enough. It's just enough to prop me up on the hard days. And I think that is it. It's probably a lot harder to do in a concise way than it would be if we wrote thousands and thousands of words, but the impact is tremendous.
Yeah, like when somebody sees a picture of, I don't know, Jesus hugging a rainbow sheep, or dancing with a rainbow sheep, or Jesus listening to a woman talking about the spiritual abuse she suffered, or seeing a picture of the church hurting people, or whatever. It reaches people's heart. It goes past their mental defenses,
Yeah.
the intellectual defenses, and just, gets right to the core of the issue. And a lot of people find that my cartoons brings them a lot of comfort and validation. They don't feel like they're crazy. They don't feel like they're alone. They feel heard, seen, understood. And, so I think it's really cool how art can do that.
Yeah. You mentioned briefly that it's transformative to you as the artist
Hmm.
to get these things out.
Mhm.
Could you share a little bit about that? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
sure. Well, the biggest example I have is, I don't know if you're aware of my Sophia drawings.
Love those. I was actually going to bring those up in a few minutes, but yes,
Okay,
they're
so
stunning.
my Sophia, that's the greatest example of what I'm talking about. I'd left the ministry, and because it got so messy, I had to leave the church as well at the time. And my wife and I were just traumatized because it was like the perfect storm. We lost everything. We lost our friends, my job, my vocation, my sense of purpose, all our friends. Our kids had left home, empty nest. We had to file for bankruptcy. Like everything just was, and
Wow.
we were in a horrible, horrible place. Anyway, one afternoon, on a Sunday, I was sitting there and I just got some paper and pen and pencil and I started drawing. And I ended up I finished, and it was a picture of a girl holding up a teddy bear to a grizzly bear that was towering above her,
Wow.
and on its haunches. And my wife's like, what's that? Like, it was so out of character for me. Because I usually drew nice uh, landscapes, watercolor
Mhm.
landscapes, or my cartoons, but nothing like this. And I'm like, I don't know, I just wanted to draw it. So anyway, my wife worked nights on the weekends. So every Friday night, I'd pull out a bottle of wine, I'd put on some music, I'd get paper and pencil and pen out, and I'd just start drawing. I wasn't even thinking. Whatever I drew, I drew. And after about 6 or 7, I realized I was drawing this young woman or girl who was out in the wilderness all by herself. We could never see her face. Usually the moon's in the picture. And she's in a dangerous kind of situation, or a scary situation. And actually the one I was drawing was cave, where she's standing in front of a cave, the
Mm.
entrance of a cave, deciding whether or not to go in. And I knew immediately, oh my goodness, I'm drawing my own journey. This is about
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
And so I just kept drawing week after week after week until there were like 59, 62 drawings actually total, where I just drew without consciously planning it. I would just sit down with a pen and paper and pencil and just start drawing. And I realized I was sort of purging my trauma through my art. And so you're familiar with Sophia, where she
Mhm.
escapes, she's out in the wilderness, she's facing wild animals, she's facing the elements, she's vulnerable, she's alone, but she's learning how to find her own feet and live her own freedom and become her own authentic self. And that's exactly what I was having to do.
Mhm.
And so actually when it was done, it was done. I didn't feel any more inspiration.
Ah.
It stopped. The last picture in the book is her walking out into the light, and it's called Light. And it was like, I'm in the light now. I'm done. I'm free.
Yeah.
And so that to me is a picture of how art can be transformative, not just for the artist, where I was actually drawing out in more
Mhm.
ways than one. I was drawing
Yeah.
out my journey that was unconscious at the time. And then I realized after a while, this is me learning how to be free from my religious oppression and beliefs and all those
Mhm.
things that were holding me back and holding me down. But it took a couple of years. But when I was done, I was done. And now I put it into a book and I help others, you know, with the same, and I'll share another story. I got an
Yeah.
email a few years ago from a young woman who said, you know, I came from a very religious home, very conservative. I went to college. I decided it wasn't for me. I bought the Sophia book. I bought a tent and a sleeping bag, and I went up into the mountains, my journal, and I read Sophia, wrote in my journal, and I came back a different person. So it's also,
Beautiful.
yeah, it's helping
Yeah.
other people, you know, through their own transformative journeys as well. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean by artist transformative. And I
But
don't know, like, you know, when you say you look at my cartoons or Sophia or whatever, it does something to you. And that, I think that's what art does,
yeah,
where it actually does something to us, changes us.
I think so too. I think sometimes art can sneak up on us, and it doesn't even have to be good art,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It could be, you know, accidental graffiti on a wall in a certain color that catches our attention, but it
Mm.
does seem to move past our defenses, like you said, in a way that is unexpected. I know we probably have people in the audience who are like, okay, that's great, because he's a good artist. I'm not. Like, as a coach, I can just hear those objections, like they haven't
Yeah.
happened yet, but I'm sure. Can we talk just a second about how art doesn't necessarily have to be the way you create art, or it doesn't have to be marketable to be
Mhm.
healing for the artist?
Absolutely. Everybody's an artist. I really do believe that. Um, I think John Lennon said it. There's philosophers who've said it, that all of us as children are artists, and we're
Yeah.
creative, and we get that beaten out of us by education and, you know, conformity and shame and all those things, where those kind of things get buried. But I really, truly, honestly believe this. I'm not just saying it. It's not a fantasy or a wish or any. I really, truly believe everybody is an artist. Whether you sit down with a pen and write, or your computer keyboard, or, you know, you draw, or you dance, or you bake a cake, or you sing, or write a poem, or whatever it is. Even your relationships, how you parent, you can do it artistically and creatively, meaning it comes out of your own heart. You do something that just rises out of your own self, rather than you fulfilling some kind of a function
Right.
that you're supposed to fulfill. This is something that just emerges out of you, like, spontaneously.
Yeah.
So some years ago, my favorite medium of painting is watercolor on paper,
Mhm.
landscapes, and a lot of people love my paintings, and they're very moody and melancholy and solitude, and, you know, a lot of minimalism, a lot of space.
Mhm.
And I thought, you know, years ago I felt like I was in a rut. So I bought a bunch of canvases. I got a big tarp, and I laid the tarp down in my studio, and I got a bunch of paint, and I put on my painting clothes, and I just went crazy.
Love
And
it.
I started flinging paint and scratching and throwing, and tilting the canvases, and um, splattering and everything, just to try to get out of this rut I was in.
Mhm.
I know how to make a good watercolor painting. I know what's going to sell. That kind of a rut, to I'm just going to paint, see what happens. It's going to be totally unplanned and spontaneous, and see what happens. And
Mhm.
I ended up being able to paint some abstracts, you know, totally, totally out of my character, totally out of my league. But it was just me getting in touch with my creativity again. So the people out there who are saying, "Oh, I'm not creative," you
Yeah.
are. There's something in you that you can, you
Yeah.
know, surprise yourself with. You know, get a broomstick and beat up some cardboard boxes or anything. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yeah.
something in you that can do something creative.
And you're right that gets changed. Like we're conditioned
Mhm,
by our culture and our educational system and all these different things, that
mhm.
art is a specific thing, and it has to reach a certain level of excellence, and it has to be marketable and all those things. But
Right.
that's not, you know, that's not how the soul defines creativity and the soul
Right.
defines art. And it's so interesting that you share your Sophia story, because I know that in my early days of deconstruction, I just woke up one day and decided I wanted to learn how to can foods. And I didn't know that that was art. I didn't know that that was creativity, but I knew, I just had this sense that this was something that had been lost.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go back and figure it out. And
Mhm.
I wanted to use my mom's book, and I wanted to I didn't want to go take a class. I didn't want anybody to teach me. I just wanted to figure it out
Mhm.
and then teach my kids how to do it. So we figured it out together. And in hindsight, that was part of the outlet that I needed during
Right.
deconstruction, because I didn't want to be told what to
Yeah.
believe or how to do it anymore. And I
Yeah.
couldn't find that in the church. So I made it happen in my kitchen.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I'm talking about. I get people come on and they say, my 5-year-old could have drawn better than that. Well, that's not the point.
Okay,
If
cool.
yeah, great, go for it.
Cool.
But I feel sorry for the child because they're going to have to measure up to that father's expectation of what good art is or art is.
Mhm.
You know, I've been in all kinds of art museums and galleries and so on. And, I remember standing in front of, I forget the artist's name now, but it's kind of like a 5x9 or a 5x8 foot canvas, and it's just white and
Mm,
it's sold for millions. And
yeah.
everybody that goes by said, well, I could have painted that, but you didn't.
But you didn't, right?
And there's, like, I'm looking at one of my paintings here right now. It's just
Oh,
a long canvas
oh
with
my gosh.
a bunch of trees on it. Yeah, a child could draw that. But that's not the point. And some of my favorite cartoonists, it looks like a child drew it with their opposite hand. It's not about, it looking like whatever. You're conveying an emotion, you're conveying a feeling. It's like, somebody playing jazz. It might not make sense to a pop artist. Actually, I've got a Miles Davis shirt on right now.
See, that's perfect.
Um, it's like jazz. It might not make sense, but it's beautiful, and
Yeah,
you get an ear for it.
yeah.
And so I just encourage people out there, just anything, just do something, just and sometimes don't even plan it. That's like me with
Yeah.
some planning. I had to buy the canvas, the paint, and all that, and put myself in a room, lock myself in, and then just go crazy. But that's sometimes what it takes. I have people send me, I'm not a very good artist, but I drew a cartoon. I'm like, show me. And I'm like, they'll show me, and it looks like a child drew it, and they have a little saying in a box. And it's funny. I say, keep going, man, keep doing
Yeah.
it. You look at my cartoons, yeah, a 5-year-old could have drawn them, but I'm not trying to make it look like Sally exactly. I'm trying to convey a message, right? So it's
Yeah.
and that's the liberating thing about art and creativity. There should be no rules, and
Yeah.
just like your canning idea or whatever, you just go for it. Yeah.
I love that you brought improvisation, the jazz in,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I think that there's, when we're coming out of religious structures that are so highly regulated and so
Mhm.
like you
Mhm.
have to be in this lane,
Mhm.
or we might just kick you out of the community. We don't know how to improvise, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's we've lost that. It doesn't mean we never knew how. Like you said, as children, we probably knew how, but
Mhm.
reclaiming that is liberating.
Yeah. Innovating, being creative,
Mhm.
including with your spirituality. Absolutely. I'm all for that 100%. I encourage people to be spiritually independent. You take the steering wheel of your own life. You be the master of your own destiny, the captain of your own ship. You figure out how you want to be spiritual. That's your right and your responsibility. Don't let others inform you or instruct you on
Yeah.
how to be spiritual. You get to choose. And when I meet people who are truly spiritually independent, they're a real mixed bag of tricks. But
Right.
it forms that's their way of being human. That's their way
Mhm.
of being spiritual. And so be creative, meaning be yourself, be your most authentic self, and whatever that looks like.
Yeah. What would you say to someone who's sitting here that's like, I would like to
Mhm,
explore, but I'm
mhm.
really scared or I'm really hurt. Like, what advice would you offer?
Yeah, so that's totally understandable. I mean, I'm getting up there. I feel young inside, but my hair is white, my beard's white and everything. And so it's taken me a while. I feel very free. But it took me a while. I remember, when I was learning how to paint and I figured out a way to um, paint with watercolors, people telling me that's not how you do it.
Mm,
And I remember when I was a little kid in um, elementary school, when we had the fat pencils, remember?
hmm hmm
And every day the teacher would make us line up to sharpen our pencils. But I didn't want mine sharpened. I liked mine dull because I liked the shadiness of I didn't like the sharp line. I liked the shade.
Right,
And
right.
she'd actually wrap my knuckles with the triangular ruler, because I wouldn't sharpen my pencil. And I got in trouble and I got sent home and everything.
Oh my goodness.
But it's because I wanted to do it my way. And it's the same with my spirituality. And I had people in authority say that's not how you do it.
Yeah.
But if you want to be free and you want to be happy, you've got to figure out how to be yourself and take your time, be safe. It's going to cost you, count the cost,
Yeah.
and take one step at a time. you know uh I don't encourage people to, like, including if they're coming out or whatever, to just burst out all 100% and
Right.
destroy everything. Well, it's not actually them doing the destroying, it's people who respond to it. So if you want to take your time and be cautious and careful and leak things out a bit at a time, that's how I did it, except when I didn't.
So even in that, there's some
Yeah.
improvisation.
There were times
Yeah.
I burst out and,
Yeah.
it caused a scene, but I couldn't handle it anymore. And I needed to burst forth and like the butterfly from the cocoon.
Mhm.
Um, there's a time, a transition there where you're not sure what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, boom, their leaves unfold or their wings unfold. And, so there are gradual times, and then
Mhm.
there's the sudden unfolding times as well.
Yeah.
So
And
keep in
it's
mind those.
the time thing has been consistent. We've had a couple different speakers who've talked about that. And I think that there's a lot of pressure right now because we have so many conversations about deconstructing kind of in the public forums. There are
Mhm,
communities, there's advice, there's suggestions, there's all these things. But without time, none of that is actually helpful. It's
mhm,
just more noise and more pressure. Um, that is it's just going to keep you small.
mhm.
So that
So
simmer is really important.
are you saying that there's a lot of pressure out there to, get with it and be totally deconstructed or whatever?
No, I think what I'm seeing from a lot of people is that because there are spaces where we can talk about deconstruction,
Right.
we're hearing people who are 10 years down the road,
Mm,
but we haven't been following them for 10 years.
no.
So we think that, maybe they have gotten it all together in the last year. So the pressure is kind of an internalized thing.
Oh,
It's
yeah, yeah.
something we're doing to ourselves,
Mhm,
not necessarily pressure from the community.
right.
Yeah.
So here's the big thing about deconstruction. It's learning that you no longer need permission or,
Yeah.
validation from someone. That is a pretty sudden thing where you realize, okay, I no longer need permission. I no longer need validation. I'm on my own. And that's really, really scary.
Yeah.
But that is also, it still applies. When you're deconstructing and you're in a deconstructing community and there are people 10 years down the road,
Yeah.
still do not look to them for validation or permission. You're still on your own. You get to decide how to be spiritual. If you want to mix in a little bit of Pentecostal with a little bit of tarot cards or whatever, I don't know. I just
That's it.
yeah,
Yeah. That's it.
that's your thing. Do it.
Right. Right.
And don't worry about how you're looking or compare yourself to others. The time for comparing yourself to others or measuring yourself to others or getting permission from others it's over. It's your turn to drive now, and you get to
Yeah.
decide where to go.
Yeah. And that's terrifying. And it's
It
okay
is
that it's
terrifying.
terrifying. I think what's really important is we have to realize that it's terrifying because we were taught not to.
Mhm.
But if we could peel back through deconstruction and probably a lot of therapy, peel back all of what we've been taught, we'll realize maybe it was always supposed to be that way.
Yeah, no, it's I left the ministry when I was 52,
Mhm.
and I was confused and I didn't know what to do because that's all I knew. The ministry
Mhm.
and theology and how is that marketable? And I was very scared. So I talked to a mentor at the time and it was like, well, David, what do you want? And I couldn't answer that question
Wow.
because I was never allowed to want. I was
Mhm.
told to want was wrong. I needed to want what God wanted, right? And I didn't even know what I wanted. And I realized after that phone call, I was like, I need to sign up for the school of life right now. Like I need to
Mm.
figure this out. Like, what do I want? And to get over the guilt of that, to get over the feeling like I'm sinning, and displeasing God, all those things. It was a huge learning curve for me. But so yeah, it is scary. We're learning things like from scratch
Mhm.
as adults, like to want and to say, I deserve to be happy.
Yeah.
I just, I want to make money. I'm not happy with my present partner. I want a divorce,
Yeah.
or, et cetera. We could go on and on of all those things that we've um, succumbed to the pressure to conform to everybody else's expectations. And all of a sudden, here we are facing the question, what do I want?
Mhm.
And for me, it was, it was an eye-opening moment.
Yeah. With that, not just what do I want, but what do I need?
Mm,
I think we're not taught to care for ourselves.
no, we're not.
Not even in extravagant ways, but in basic ways.
Yeah.
What do I need to feel safe in my relationships, in my workplace, in my home, in my
Mhm.
whatever my new spiritual practice is going to be? That's
Mhm.
a scary question. And sometimes you don't know what you need until you bump into what you don't need.
Yeah.
So again, there's that time it takes to explore and be
Yeah.
curious.
So like you mentioned therapy,
Yeah.
and when I left the ministry, I always believe in therapy. Everybody should have a therapist all the time. I totally believe in it. And I had coaches and I had
Mhm.
mentors, people I trusted, my wife. I have my online community, The Lasting Supper, people there and so on. And writing in my journal, I've written in my journal for many, 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 many years. And just getting to that place where I'm getting in touch with myself. And without feeling like I'm having to always run my life through a religious edit
Yeah.
thing and come back to myself, but religiously baptized or whatever, everything.
Right.
Because
Right.
I wish I could come up with a good analogy, but it always felt like everything had to go through this filter
Yeah.
and come back to me divinized, and
Yeah.
and then I could live. What about just living directly from your heart? Like just living directly, like feeling the earth, feeling your body, you know, um, being in touch with your desires and your needs.
Mhm.
Like, yeah, that's scary and it's brand new, but that's where a lot of us need to learn.
Yeah. It really feels like we're shifting the power away from the system back to ourselves. So that we're reclaiming stolen power
Mhm.
and recognizing that intermediary for all things that the church has become, it really isn't the way we're wired.
Right. Yeah, And that's why a lot of people say, you left the church, why do you keep bugging it? Whatever. And I'm like, well, the church is here to stay.
Yeah.
There's many things about the church I value. But I continually challenge the church because I believe the church is supposed to be here. Its mandate is to serve us, but we're serving it instead. And we're suffering because of it. I think if the church and the leaders, the pastors, the authorities served the people, like really did serve the people, and helped us to become our authentic individual selves, it would be so much better than us all having to conform in order to serve it, because it's killing people, and it's
Literally.
killing
Yeah.
spirits.
Not just metaphorically, but literally.
Yes.
That's the level of harm we're talking about.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Go ahead.
I saw a picture recently of a really I think it was an Angolan shepherd, a real handsome young man, and I think it was in, I don't know, some kind of magazine, GQ or something, and it showed him shepherding, and he's this real handsome guy, and really kind of built and ripped and had these rugged clothes on, and he's in the mountains, and he's with his sheep, but he's always behind the sheep, following them. And because sheep know where the grass is and where the water is, and they just wander, and the shepherd just sort of wanders behind them, make sure everything's okay. And that's my picture of a church. Now, I don't always like the analogy of comparing sheep to people, but that kind of an analogy where if we're left alone, I mean, within reason, but I mean, I really do trust people to figure out for themselves how to learn how to be free and spiritually independent.
Yeah. And that autonomy is not something that we're taught is a good thing.
No, that's right.
Within the current religious systems. And it doesn't, I don't know of a denomination out there or a church out there that's got this right, because it really is about assimilating and maintaining the power of that organization.
Yeah.
Rather than allowing people to own their own rights and to own their own decisions and choose for themselves without fear of being penalized by the community.
Yeah, I think there are churches like that out there. I've been to a couple. I think they're rare though, and I think they're small and probably aren't considered successful or dynamic, but they're authentic communities that are out there.
That's fantastic.
Too many of us have experienced the opposite, right? Where we've been chewed up and spit out by the church. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really curious, just kind of to bring us kind of back to this idea of creativity and healing and all these things blending together. If you have someone who doesn't know where to start, where would you tell them to start?
Well, so we talked about Sophia, and we talked about my cartoons, how it actually healed me. Literally, the art, doing something creative actually healed me. It purged me of some stuff. It brought things to the surface. It helped me integrate negative experiences and my shadow side and my anger and my disappointments and fears and shame and all that kind of stuff. It actually literally healed me. And it's through a medium that I'd been doing my whole life. So for many people saying, well, I'm not creative. Well, think back to something you did as a child that you loved. Was it fishing or, blowing bubbles or making angels in the snow or drawing or finger painting or helping mom in the kitchen or anything at all? Just think back, what brought you joy when you were a kid, when you were a teenager? Is it sitting in your bedroom playing a record really loud through your headphones? Like anything like that. Write in your journal that nobody will have to see. Just be completely honest. And that's what I would recommend. Just figure out a way to express yourself, figure out a way to express yourself. And eventually you will learn how to move that from being a personal thing to being who you are socially as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really beautiful, because it so many times when we're feeling isolated or wounded because we've been kicked out of our community, the first thing we do is we start looking for a new community.
Yeah.
And if I'm hearing you correctly, what you're kind of echoing is the sentiment that we need to find ourselves first to know who we are and what community we want to be a part of. And flipping that around doesn't allow us to find ourselves.
Yeah. So I'm an open concept kind of guy. When we bought this house, it was a little cottage with a bunch of little rooms in it. And it's overlooking a river. It's beautiful. I thought I can envision all the walls torn down. And so I did. I tore the walls down. I put in supporting beams, and it's all open concept now, and everything's open and bright, and I love it. And I'm the same way with deconstruction. I do not recommend reconstructing.
Yeah.
I recommend deconstructing, tearing everything right down to the foundation, and then enjoying the space. Just enjoy the space. I mean, you can, I know I've seen other people go into like yoga or Buddhism or atheism or whatever. I don't care. It doesn't matter. Up to you. But I recommend just enjoy the empty space. I wrote a book called Questions Are the Answer, because I believe living in the mystery, living in the open, is a beautiful place to be. You do not need to nail yourself down. You don't need a label to be happy. And so just enjoy the freedom and the space. When people said, well, what are you? You know, I get that a lot.
Yeah.
You believe in God? Are you a believer? Are you an atheist?
Yeah.
Where do you put yourself? I said, well, I don't know. Where do you put me?
Yeah, exactly. How much time do you have?
Yeah, I'm putting all kinds of slots, and it's kind of humorous to me. I'm just happy. The contents don't need the label. They know what they are, and it's only on the outside, people needing to read it need labels, but I don't need a label. And so I'm very happy with this openness and being open and out in the mystery, and enjoying not getting nailed down, because I was so good at that, you know, choosing a certain label or theology or whatever, and denomination, et cetera, ad nauseum, you know, it just drove, you know. So now I'm free of all that. So why jump into another one that I'll just have to deconstruct later?
Yeah, same. I'm working on a book, and one of the things I'm sharing in there is how good of a people pleaser I was. Not just average. I was like superstar, scratching stickers as a kid, like all the stars on the charts, and not having a label, not saying, oh, I'm that denomination, or I'm, it's terrifying. And also it was really exciting when I realized it was my choice.
Yeah.
That nobody could put, out in the world, people can label you all they want, but in the wilderness, when I'm here by myself, trying to decide who created me, and, do I want a relationship, and is there a relationship, or is this all made up? I didn't have to put any labels on myself. I could just be. I could just sit in the open space and see what was there. And that's where the liberation happened.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree that when you're deconstructing, you're removing all the obstacles to your own personal development or growth or freedom, whatever you want to call it, like a plant. You soften the earth, you get rid of stones and sticks and insects, pests, and you just make room. Just make room. And you provide the space, you plant the seed, and the tomato plant will grow. You don't have to do anything else except provide the conditions and the space. And it's the same with your own life. Just provide the space. I guarantee it, you'll grow in remarkable ways. You'll surprise yourself. Because in religious systems or whatever other kinds of, it's not just religious, any system that you're in, it squeezes you into a certain shape. So now that you're outside of a system, you can blossom in ways that you've never blossomed before, and you can be a bigger person, a bigger self, and enjoy life a whole lot more.
Yeah, yeah. As you're describing the tomato and the boxes, it makes me think of how sometimes when plants aren't very strong, when the tomatoes are a little weak and the stems are a little weak, we put cages up, but you can't just take the cages off and expect the plant to be stronger. And so in this situation, deconstruction is almost like taking that cage off, and we're still a little floppy and we're not sure what to do because we're not being pinched in. And that's where just giving yourself time to expand and go in different directions and explore is going to serve you really well, even if you have no idea where you're going. But maybe even it's better if we don't know where we're going.
And you know, we can, if we want to carry the analogy further, there's nothing wrong with support. I mean, I have a wife who supports me. My children, who are all adults, they support me. I have a therapist who supports me. I have some friends who support me. So support is good and helpful. If you've got anybody who loves you as you are, man, that's
good. Yeah.
Treasure that. That's a support. It's like that steak or the cage you said. Those supports are really good. And I will say, if you can find a community that is all good with that, I hope you can. If you do, it's a treasure. Value that. But if you can't, find support wherever you can, but by all means, keep your freedom.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't compromise to fit back into a box to be part of a community that seems supportive.
Yeah.
Because if you're changing your shape and shrinking,
yeah,
it's not really supportive.
Yeah. And the pressure will be there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's fantastic. So much good stuff. I'm so thankful that we've been able to have this conversation. I know where to find you online. The website's going to have all the information to find you online, but just tell everybody who's watching real quick, if they want to see your artwork, if they want to hang out with you in a virtual space, where can we find you? Okay, so NakedPastor.com is my website, and that's my home base. And everything, I'm Naked Pastor everywhere. David Hayward art, as well. So if you look for Naked Pastor, you'll find me on, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it, I'm there. So, and I'm really good at responding if you reach out. And I hope what I've shared today has been helpful. Super helpful. I know you haven't seen the other sessions, but I have pre-recorded a couple sessions already, and there are definitely threads. There are definitely some threads that are connecting all these conversations. So I'm sure that they're serving the audience really well. For those of you that are watching at home, thanks so much for being here. Make sure that you check out David's links. You can also check him out over in the virtual exhibit hall, which is going to help you find everybody and check out our sponsors who have been amazing and allowed us to present this event for you at no cost for general admission. David, thank you for being here. Nice I appreciate you so much. It's been great to talk to you, and everybody who's watching, we'll see you on the next session. Thank you.